This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. This is lesson 33 in this series that is all about jazz guitar. As you know, I love jazz guitar. I work as a jazz guitarist, as a recording artist in jazz, and I am just delighted to bring this course to you. Now, in this lesson, we're going to work on probably the most common types of jazz chords that we end up playing. And that is so exciting. Now, in the beginning of the course, we worked on shell voicings. Then in the last several lessons, we've been working on different improvisation techniques. So it's so exciting to be jumping back in here and learning some more chords. I'm going to start off here in this lesson by giving you a formula for creating voicings. And really, I'm just going to be walking us through the formula and some different voicings in this lesson. And then in the next few lessons, I'll be walking you through ways to learn voicings and how to do voice leading between various voicings in common ways, common progressions that we end up playing when we're playing tunes. So this lesson, next few lessons, we're going to be going over these chords. It's going to be awesome. We're also going to work on comping rhythms, both for bossa nova and swing. So we get a lot of the different things happening. These types of voicings are especially used as far as how we would comp a bebop tune and anything that comes after it. We could also use them in the earlier eras, but we do a lot more Freddie Green playing in those early eras. As we move forward, sometimes when we're playing Freddie Green, we even use these voicings. So I'm not going to re-explain Freddie Green or shell voicings, but those things were covered in the first few lessons of the series. So if that's something that's unfamiliar to you, check out those lessons. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here and the formula that works for creating some of these most common types of jazz voicings that we play. So up here on the board, I have diagrams to help us understand this formula. Over here on the left, we have the 6th string form. Well, that means that our root is on the low 6th string. On the right, we have the 5th string form, which means our root is on the 5th string, and then we actually have an alternate option for the 5th string as well, depending on the voicings that we're creating. The way this formula works is we're going to have the root on the 6th string or the 5th string. So 6th string form, 5th string form, alternate 5th string form. Then we're going to put the guide tones on the 4th string and the 3rd string. The guide tones help define the quality of a chord, whether it's a major chord or a minor chord, whether it's a major chord with a major 7th, a major chord with a minor 7th, also known as a dominant 7th, or a minor chord with a minor 7th, or a minor chord with a major 7th. All these sound slightly different. So the guide tones help define the quality of the chord. Altered fifths further define the quality of the chord. So an altered fifth is technically a guide tone as well, though we're not going to be sticking that on the 4th string or the 3rd string, except if we use this alternate form down here. Then our 5th actually is on that 4th string, and we're putting our 3rd up on the 2nd string and our 7th there. We have 3 strings with guide tones. So altered fifths, and then altered 5th meaning a sharp 5 or a flat 5, and then the 7th and the 3rd, whether it's a minor 7th or a major 7th, minor 3rd, or a major 3rd. Now, a couple more exceptions. Sometimes we play 6th chords in jazz. The 6th replaces the 7th, so it's going to function kind of like a guide tone. Also, we play suspended chords in jazz. The suspended chords, with those, we have the 4th replacing the 3rd. And so that, in that case, the 4th is going to function as a guide tone, and it's going to be positioned on one of those strings. I got that stamped right up here, well, written right up here if you need the visual on it. So 3rds and 7ths are our most common guide tones. And then whether it's a major 3rd, major 7th, minor 3rd, minor 7th, another way of saying that is flatted 3rd or flatted 7th. But then if it's a 6th chord, the 6th replaces the 7th, and it functions as a guide tone for the purpose of what we're doing here in creating voicings. An altered 5th is a guide tone. The guide tones need to be in the chords. When we have a 5th that's altered, we're going to have 3 strings with guide tones technically. And generally speaking, we're going to use the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. So for the 6th string, that works just as is, but for the 5th string form, we use this alternate form when we're doing that. Then once we've got the guide tones here happening on our, generally speaking, on our 4th and 3rd strings, we're going to put color tones on the 1st and 2nd string. And it's going to be a little different with this one. We're not using any color tones with this alternate option. That option is especially there when we want the 5th on the 4th string, which we'll learn as we're learning different voicings. But color tones are the 9th, the sharp 9, flat 9, sharp 11, natural 11, 13, flat 13. Those are our color tone options, which I have written right here. And those are going to go on the top strings. Now, with all of this, and it might seem like a lot of information, and it's more fun maybe to just jump in with some voicings, but I want to help you understand it so you can create any types of voicings you want. With this, though, we have 5 different ways that we can create some voicings. Shell voicings come out of this, which I covered early on in the course in the first few lessons, so I'm not going to go over them again here, but we know that shell voicings just have the root plus the guide tones, and they're used a lot with Freddie Green. So if you want help with that, check out those early lessons. It'll help you master that. And that uses this formula, only it only uses the root and the guide tones, so strings 3 and 4. But now we can also add with that root plus the guide tones plus a 5th, so we can add the 5th in, or a color tone. So this is a 4-note voicing. We can also create 5-note voicings where we have a 5th and a color, or we have 2 colors added to the root plus the guide tones. So that's a 3rd option. We have 4-note chords, 4-string chords, 5-note chords, 5-string chords. We can also do something called rootless voicings. Now, we only tend to play rootless voicings when we're jamming in a band and somebody like the bass player is covering the root, or like I did sort of at the beginning, where we set up the sound of we've set up the foundational sound of the harmony of a chord, and then we've thrown some sort of rootless option on top of it. Our ear has heard that low root, has heard everything in context. So with rootless voicings, these are chords that we can comp over the top of somebody else playing the bass line and the bass notes. We can also use them when we're playing solo guitar or playing duets and so on, as long as we've established the foundational harmony and then we sit those on top, we get these nice colors. But rootless voicings have the guide tones plus the 5th and color. They can have a 5th and a color or 2 colors. And that's a lot of information, but we get those types of voicings. Then we have this alternate 5th string option where we're swapping and putting that 5th there on the 4th string instead of the 3rd or the 4th if it was suspended. And then we're putting the 7th or 6th, I didn't include it here, but you'd still have the 6th there, on that 3rd string, and we've moved the 3rd up to the 2nd string. And those voicings are especially useful when we're using altered 5ths, though we get some nice ones for major 7th and minor 7th as well. So that's an overview of how this works. Let's just take a look at some of these voicings where we're going to really master different ones in the next few lessons as we learn to play them with different rhythms through different chord progressions. But just for example here with the 6-string form, if we were going to have a major 7th chord, I'm going to use my major 7 and my major 3. If I play just those 3 notes, I'm living in the shell voicing land. But then up here on the 2nd string, look at how many different options I have. So if I go up 2 frets higher, I get a major 13 chord, which is pretty cool. If I bring that down 1 fret, I'm going to have a major 7th with a sharp 5 or a major 7 flat 13 chord. That voicing will work for either one of those because the sharp 5 and flat 13 are enharmonic. They're the same sounding pitch, same note. F sharp in this case. I'm demonstrating everything here in B flat. So my index is at the 6th fret on that 6th string. I can play a major 7th with the 5th. I can do sharp 11, 1 fret lower. And I could do the 11th, technically, but that's a really unusual sound to throw the natural 11 against the 3. It's a high tension. I also could skip over and play my 9th. I could play a sharp 9 or a flat 9. We don't usually throw those on major 7th chords, but I have the 9th there. Now, if 5-string options, if I can finger it, if I can physically do it, I can do it. I can play the 13th and the 9th together and get a nice major 13 sound. So that would be major 7. If I want to do dominant 7th, I have all the same options. So I just need to flat the 7th. So here I'm flatting the 7th, major 3rd, there's my 13. If I pull my pinky down a fret, flat 13 or sharp 5. If I come down one more, rearrange my hand a little bit, I get a natural 5. If I take it and go down one fret lower on this string, I get the dominant 7th and the sharp 11. I can also come up here and grab the 9th with dominant chords. We use sharp 9s, we use natural 9s, we use flat 9s. Now with that natural 9, I can easily put the 13th in there with it, which creates a cool voicing. With the sharp 5 flat 13, I can throw that flat 9 on top if I just bar across here. Or I could grab the sharp 9 on top. Now, in a rootless context with either of these, and I'll go back just to the major 7th, I have my guide tones there. I have my 13 and my 9. So if I take 7, 3, 13, 9, it's going to be rootless. It sits over that B flat. So that's a way to create a rootless one there. I could also take the 9 and the sharp 11 and the 3 and the 7 in that rootless context. So that's how I would create a rootless option for one of those. Now with the major 6 chord, we tend to only really put the 5th on top. If you had a rootless context, then you could add the 9th as well. So root 6, 3, and 5, and you'd have the major 6th. Root 6, 3, and then if I go up to the 9th, I can throw the 9th on there and just have it be a 6-9 voicing. But if I wanted to do rootless, I could have that 5th in there and that 9th as well. Taking 6, 3, 5, and 9. So that's how the formula works on that. Of course, minor 7th chords, I would take and flat the 3rd and the 7th, and I've got the 13th, I've got the minor 7 sharp 5, or minor 7, flat 5, minor 11, up on top. You can grab that 9th, I could put the 13th and the 9th. You can combine those in different ways. We're going to work on specific voicings in the lessons to come, as I've mentioned. But let's take a look at the 5th string form here. So if I put my root on the 5th string, now I'm at E flat. I have my 3rd and 7th. I'm just going to do a major 7th as an example here. I've got the 9th that sits right in the same fret as the root up on top, and I get a cool major 9 sound. Isn't that awesome? Now with this string, it's really hard to grab anything with this form, meaning the 5th string form. It's really hard to grab anything on with that major 9th, anything on the top string without going rootless. Then I can do it. I can throw on the 13th as well, 2 frets higher. Or I could grab the 5th. Or you could get the sharp 11 in there. With that one, you can actually finger it with the root in there. But it can be hard to finger both of those strings together, so that's why sometimes we do the rootless option. So with that, if I do the dominant chord instead, I've got root 3, flat 7, and 9. I've got the sharp 9 that would be 1 fret higher. I've got my flat 9 that would be 1 fret lower. So I've got my dominant 9th, put my pinky on, I get that sharp 9, roll it over, I get that flat 9. Just like that. Now if I wanted to on the top string, I can go back to my dominant 9, reach up for that 13, and I can reach it there and create that 5-string form. Or I could do rootless and take the root off and just play the top 4 strings. I can also, if I do the sharp 9, I can do a flat 13 with it. If I come over and do the flat 9, I can do the flat 5 with it, or sharp 11. So that's sort of how these options work. Now, if we moved on to diminished chords, or half diminished chords, like a minor 7 flat 5, minor 7 flat 5 has the root, the flatted 3rd, the flatted 5th, and the flatted 7th. So flatted 5th is a guide tone because it's changing the quality of it with that altered fifth. This shape is hard. This shape doesn't work very well in those contexts. I'd have this root, the flatted third, flatted seventh, and then I have my flatted fifth up here on top, which is technically an option. But what a lot of times works better with like the half diminished chord or something like that is to switch over here and put my fifth on the fourth string. And so if I do that, I've got my root, my flatted fifth, my flatted seventh, and my flatted third, and I create a half diminished. So sometimes it works to use this alternate option here when we're creating some voicings like that one. And I could do minor seventh that way, minor major seventh voicings as well. When we have altered fifths, it's almost a necessity there versus coming over, putting that fifth voiced so much higher. So this serves as an introduction. There's so many different types of chords and voicings that can come out of this, but I wanted to do an overview of the formula and how it works before we start learning voicings, because if you can associate in your mind that, oh, I have the fifth, the sharp 5, the 13, the flat 5, and the 11 or the sharp 11, then you can start creating voicings if you start seeing where these pitches are. So I wanted to do an overview here, but in the next several lessons we're going to work on different voicings. So starting in the next lesson, we're going to take a look at major seventh chords that have the fifth plus the guide tones and the root. We'll do those around the circle of force. We'll take a look at dominant seventh chords, minor seventh chords. We'll see how those voicings work. We'll take a look at major sixth chords, and we'll just continue on from there. We'll also look at them in 2-5-1s. As the lessons progress, we'll work on different comping rhythms and see a lot of different ways that we can use chords working with this formula. But from this formula, you can create any type of chord. Now, it could be possible that as you're coming to this lesson and coming in here, that you're not familiar with chord symbols and the different types of chords that can be created, but have no fear. As we go through and learn the different voicings, we'll be associating them with the chord symbols, and it ought to help. Hopefully this will link in as you start to realize, oh, this is how I can create chords. But as you're learning them, the very best thing to do is just get some voicings happening under those fingers that work, and start playing some chord progressions and some tunes with those voicings using some great comping rhythms. So that's what we're going to be working on as we continue forward. In the next lesson, we'll be jumping right in with some of these great voicings, especially from major seventh, minor seventh, and dominant seventh chords. So we'll do it. Keep having fun with this guitar stuff. These lessons come out every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We got Technique Tuesdays, Theory Thursdays, and on Saturdays we're working on blues and jazz, or blues, rock, and pop improv, which is a nice counterpart to doing jazz. So hope you're having fun. Take care, and we'll see you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.